No, we've really enjoyed the build-up to this, Nick. It's been a great quality of play throughout the day. And as we were just saying before we came out for this, if Marc can play anything like he did in his semi-final, we're going to be in for a fantastic match here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a question mark on Marc to see whether he can recreate that same form that he did against Cole Bedford. If he plays that same way, he's going to have a great game here. We're going to see a fantastic game, and he's going to give himself a great chance. But you know, he's in uncharted territory here a little bit in this final, and it's going to be interesting to see how he reacts to the situation. Really looking forward to this final.
It's nice to see different players, whoever they are. Everybody has worked so hard to get this pro status, and they battle through so many rounds, sometimes away from the limelight. And they're all such good players. When you do get a moment like this, it's always well deserved. We always say you should try and enjoy these moments. Easier said than done sometimes. The pressure of the situation, there's a lot to think about. For Craig Waddingham, it's a different equation. He's used to being out in major finals. I think it's become a minor nuisance for him, the fact that he hasn't won a pro series. I mean, we were joking out there that Si and I both asked him that as interview questions, and obviously, you know, that's the kind of question you do naturally find yourself asking. He's won some big titles. I don't think this is going to redefine his career, but he's the kind of player that everyone talks about as a top pro that can beat any other pro. He wants to prove that by winning what is seen as the gold standard event.
Yeah, it's almost it's a monkey on your back, isn't it? I mean, after that first year on the Challenger, when he just absolutely dominated that series, he wants to lift the trophy. He's a natural winner.
2 years ago that he had that runners-up finish in Pro Series Event 8 of 2022, the buzzer beater when Shane Thompson came through.
Yeah, that was a thrilling match, I remember it well. Heartbreak for Craig. Shane potted the winning ball with a second to spare.
That was a season where it felt absolutely inevitable that he was going to win a Pro Series at some point. Had semi-finals in events 3, 5 and 7, and then into that final where he's runner-up in event 8. The next year, not quite so easy, just 3 quarter-final appearances. Although you find yourself saying 3 quarter-final appearances is a bad result, it shows the mark of the man you're talking about, because that will be a good season for most players.
Interesting little tactical battle between the two players here. Marc trying to get his yellows into the middle of the table so he can develop the 2 that are on the right hand side cushion. Hard to say which ball set you prefer to be at the moment. I think after this, it won't be after this shot. I wanted to leave a bigger angle there, I think, just to come across and try and attack. The red furthest up the right hand cushion, I think you can get to the potting angle of that ball, but he's finished a bit straight on the one across the top cushion, so he may just have to draw back here. Not sure he can continue attacking from here. He's going to push this as cover. Yeah, push another ball across, but he has tied up that red.
That was the trade-off. Can guarantee covering the pocket, but in this rule set, having a ball right over a pocket isn't always what you want. By playing it that way, guaranteed the good white. Just wasn't quite sure where the red was going to finish.
He's not left those in a plant either, so he's going to have to come back and develop those. And Marc electing to play away. He was sat on top of the yellow, but he doesn't want to move those. Craig's got an angle here, but he's hampered queuing, so really difficult to try and pot this and get across into that pack. But go for it he did. That was a brave shot.
And he's been quite lucky. That was a very brave shot from where he was, because he'd have been happy enough with the position until he disturbed the balls. It's turned out fairly well from his perspective, isn't it? He's still got a couple of yellows tied up.
Yeah, the yellow It's closest to the right side well now, doubles. Again, I think we're just going to see Marc glance off it and run for cover at the bottom of the table. Just get that ball out into the open. That's another one that he's moved. Didn't really want that kiss, but yeah, he's given Craig a sighter of the red up in bulk. And I think he can. He's looking at the plant. Marc's tried to hide all of this, but he's that little glance on the yellows giving Craig an opportunity.
The far red was actually quite a bit further away from the pocket than it looked from that camera angle. It may have looked like a bad miss, but it was actually quite a difficult shot. What it is, though, is a bad outcome because it's now opened the yellow up.
Yeah, he's left the yellow to middle, and everything's there now for Marc. Just needs to compose. And we'll see him do that a lot. He just steps across to look at the angle. He may well do it again. A few false starts from him. It's just part of his part of the way he plays. If he's got a pressure shot, he just makes sure that he's settled. Make sure he's in the right frame of mind to play the shot. Won't rush it.
It's an unusual mannerism, isn't it? You see different people address that pressure in different ways. You see people coming around to look at angles that they don't in truth really need to. It's just a way of settling themselves down.
Left a nice angle here. Just run off the top cushion. Be a touch of left hand side on this ball, as you can see. Just to bring that cue ball down through the middle of the table and leave what should be a very simple clearance for Marc Fleming to open his account in this crucial final.
Did Craig Waddingham push the boat out a little bit far? Played a couple of quite adventurous shots in this frame when he was tactically in a decent position.
Yeah, I don't mind it too much. I mean, if he makes the plant, then the clearance is there. It's the first frame. He wants to get himself on the board quickly. Both of these players have been breaking fantastically well, and that's one of the reasons they're both in this final. And there's another one from Craig Waddingham. Look at this split. He's absolutely butchered that break just beautifully onto that front board, just smashed them apart.
That was definitely one of the differences between the players in Craig's semi-final. Scott Gillespie wasn't having a lot of luck off the break. Kept leaving Craig in for chances. Craig was making a few more off his own break. He was also leaving quite nice patterns off his own break. It wasn't just the fact that he was making a ball. Though most of his clearances in the semi-final weren't absolute tap-ins, it felt like there was always something to be done. It was just making it look easy. You definitely say Craig's been enjoying his time out there. He's very relaxed in the interviews. It looks like he's in a good place. Now he's got his family back home watching this, and they've been watching him through the day. It's often much harder being the ones watching it than playing in it. Sort of rooting from a distance, but you can't feel like you influence the result. Oh, that's a kiss he didn't want, but I think it's turned out okay.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Little tap on the table and a hand up in apology to Marc, because he's got a touch of luck there. He's finished straight on this as well, so he can just top through for the yellow at the bottom of the table.
With the exception of that lucky nudge, he's taken these balls well. He's always someone that's happy just to leave a pot at distance. A lot of players will be looking at this situation thinking this is not the shot they'd want to leave themselves, but Craig really just doesn't mind. Just wants to make sure he's got a shot.
Great potter, isn't he? He really is. Levels things up at one frame each. "17 again." It's always 17. 17 feathers.
And usually as well, there's not much of a pause. There's a lot of feathering, but then it all seems to happen quite quickly when it does eventually happen. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Like, for some players it would get distracting, but essentially what he's just trying to do is settle himself and make absolutely sure he's got the line picked out and understands how he wants to deliver the cue. It's one of those things as well, you've got to be a bit cautious of changing. You could look at that and say that's not really a textbook way of playing, but you start messing around with the timing of your cue action, it takes an awful long time to get a new one bedded in sometimes. Craig's a very different cue action, but a very natural style. Craig's someone you feel like, even though he plays in a very textbook way, not necessarily had loads of work on it, it just feels like that's naturally the way he goes about it.
Yeah. It feels like he was born with his cue action. Really does. Look at that. Perfect stance at the table, the back arm. Arrow straight, coming straight through. A little pause on the backswing. Really is great. Nice long draw back, not too long.
Something about his demeanour. He places his hand down on the table to line up for a shot, and you could tell that he's a good player before he's even struck it. It's just something about it. Everything just looks right. It's a characteristic of quite a few good players, although there are definitely some pros where that's not the case. You could watch them line up a shot, and you'd have to say you'd need to see a bit more of them to really judge if they were good. What about Craig? It's just immediately everything just looks lined up correctly. Wow, cue ball flirted with that corner pocket, but to his relief it stayed on the table.
Another huge break though. Not quite as open as his last break, but they're not too bad. A little bit of work to do. There's a yellow and red on the left hand side, just close to each other. The yellow causes a bit of an issue. There's issues on both really. This is clever. If he gets the red off the yellow, it opens the middle pocket. Great vision. Saw it immediately too. Really great vision.
It's hard not to love the way he goes about a finish. It's not just a good cueist, but there's so much creativity. So we see him almost trip over the same. There's a slight line there behind the table where there's a wire run under the carpet. We've seen pretty much every player that's been out in the arena has had a moment of almost tripping over it.
You know, looking at the table when he came to it, it was just a bit messy around that pocket, and just seeing that shot red in off the yellow just opened up everything. He's got a line through to the one furthest away. And this was the reason he's played that ball and not the one at the top of the table, is because he wants to land on the red on the left hand side. It only goes to top left, and this was the perfect ball to get onto that one. Yeah, a little glance on the yellow leaves him in A1 position. You can pop this and just screw back 3-4 inches, find the gap. Delightful ball from Craig Waddingham so far.
And this really has been a continuation of his last 3 or 4 matches. Sometimes taking a frame or two to get motoring, but once it gets motoring, it just never really looks like giving you much. So, 3-1 Craig Waddingham.
One break where he went in off really is just the difference at the moment. Breaking from from the quarter line. Oh, that cue ball tried to get kicked in, didn't it? It was nowhere near the corners. I mean, he broke beautifully. Just came straight back up the middle of the table. And then it got kicked across, kicked again. Actually, it's not a bad leave. I guess the yellow on the left-hand side. Yes, the left-hand cushion with the red just guarding. I think if you get on the cushion, you can get to the potting angle. I don't think it's one that he necessarily has to move. He's looking at the yellow in the middle of the table now that's tied up next to the red to see where it goes and if it goes, and whether that's going to need moving. He can leave an angle here to come across and move that if he does need to. We'll find out now whether he stuns back into it or whether he can just land it. He's had another look. Must be very tight. So I think he's on the one down the left-hand cushion now. And the other yellow is just to the right of it. I think it may just pass below the red. Again, it's another one that's tight. Indeed, he's landed on it, so I suggest it does go. Just travelled a couple of inches too far, meaning he's just slightly hampered. If he lands a couple of inches short of that pace, he can drop the yellow in and just run up table. He can't do too much with the cue ball here, and he won't want to.
Well, you can see from that overhand how tight it looked.
Yeah, just brushed the red on the way past. We said it was tight. It must have gone, but
it just really didn't help queuing over, did it? And the fact he was queuing down because the position just wasn't natural, the angle he'd left himself.
Yeah, when you've got a jack up like that, it does make it more awkward. It's going to be his undoing in this frame. Waddingham takes out his only difficult ball.
That was a nice shot, because if you look at where the cue ball is, even had he missed that double, he wasn't going to leave an easy pot. And obviously now it's gone. That's the difficult ball out of the way, and not too much to do with the remaining ones.
So if you can call that an error, and I guess you have to. It's the first error for Marc Fleming. And the way Craig's playing, he won't be able to afford too many more. As he is just gobbling up every chance.
Yeah, he's looking good for the win right now. This 8 ball is going to get him halfway towards the winning mark. 8 frames the target, 4 frames to 1 the current score. So, frame 6, Craig Waddingham gets us underway. Oh, the cue ball again. It's been flirting with that corner pocket on a number of his breaks.
Me, I tell you what, when it's your day, because I mean, the red kicks into the cue ball, sends the red into the pocket, kicks the cue ball over to the left pocket. How has that stayed on the table? I mean, he hasn't got much to go at. He's got one into the middle, but if that drops, then this is frame to Marc Fleming, because look at the reds. It's still tricky, but if he gets the opener, they're all there. He's got it.
Oh, that's a good shot. That was so awkward from where he was. How big could that be?
Sometimes it's just your day, and that is incredible that cue ball stayed on the table. Marc would have been willing it in.
Hasn't by any means been a catalogue of flukes from Craig Waddingham. It's been his own play, but he just had one or two little turns like that that just made such a difference. Scott Gillespie can consider himself a bit unlucky with the way the semi-final went. Just didn't quite seem to get the run of the ball. Not in any sense or anything Craig was doing wrong, but just when there was any kind of 50-50 position, it seemed like it did just swing a little bit more favourably for Craig. And what a big moment that was. Not just the fact of the in off, but the fact that the finish that was then left would have been so straightforward for Marc. It was fairly straightforward for Craig, but where he had to start it from meant that it was a little bit harder at the beginning.
I mean, it's a huge swing, because 5-1 or 4-2 is just, you know, they're poles apart. The difference between 4, the difference between 2, and you know, we say it so often, but that is a massive swing with that cue ball staying on the table.
Uphill battle this for Marc Fleming. 4 frames behind. Still room to play with here. We're playing a best of 15, so a few frames in hand, and still got time on the match clock. This looks a pretty good break. Not only has he made a couple of balls, but the remaining balls are spread out nicely for him. First glance, it looks like the reds are slightly more favourable, although the only real reason for that is the yellow on the bottom cushion. If you could get down for that, the yellows would equally be a decent choice.
Let me just go back to that last frame again with the cue ball staying on the table. You know, Marc would now be taking these for, probably be taking these for 4-3. Huge moment in this final. That's fine. Just thought it was travelling a bit too far there, but he's okay. Just pulled up in time. He's got the angle he needs.
You'd like to see him make a game of it, of course, having come this far. I think even reaching this final has to be seen as a pretty big result in Marc Fleming's career. He's not going to be unhappy with his day and a half's work, but when you come this close, it's only a few frames away from lifting that trophy, particularly given how hard he's had to work to get here. He knows he's not going to be having these chances all the time.
5-2. If he can clear these up, he's still in the game. Just one mistake from Craig Waddingham, and this could turn the match on its head. You know, it's only one dry break, and it could quickly be 5-4. So let's not write him off yet.
He's got one more shot to play here, because this plant you can see is on the jaw. It's actually not a guaranteed pot, and not only that, but because he's going to have to make a thin contact, the ball that he's striking could end up travelling a fair way. He wants to try to minimise that, see how much of the pocket he can borrow.
Yeah, he didn't want the cannon on the way through, he was just trying to... Oh, that's just okay. That could have gone wrong. I think it passes to middle. It's close, but I think it goes... Oh, look at the overhead, does it? Yeah, it was the cannon on the yellow on the way through, took the pace out of the cue ball. He wanted it to go a bit further so he could play that from a straighter line, and he would have been able to hold on that yellow. Do you know what? Does this go? I think it does. No, it didn't. Wow, that's huge. That's huge.
That was the last thing he wanted. We were talking about how tough it was going to be coming back from 5-2, but it looks like he's not going to achieve that now.
You could see with the, you know, the body shape in the previous shot, when he came down and cannoned that yellow, his body was going sideways, trying to get that cue ball where he wanted it. And as I say, the cannon just made that plant a lot more awkward. As you pointed out, he had to play it thin, and then he's just trusting the luck a little bit, and it's not on his side at the moment. But Craig deciding some defence is the best option here.
Can't blame him for that. That ball was missable along the rail, and there was a risk of leaving a shot at the red. You're always trusting that your opponent might fluke a ball here, but this isn't in a great position to do so. Going to have to come off one cushion and try and pot top left, or at least that will be the most likely pocket. And that's exactly what Craig was hoping would happen. Felt he was likely to be left an easier pot, and now he's promoted the ball at the bottom of the table that was the only difficult one. See from the speed he's going about these, how comfortable he feels with this position. And well may he, because this is for a 6-1 lead. So the 6-1 lead is secured. It's a frame that Marc Fleming could and probably should have won. And of course 7-3 against Cole Bedford in the high quality semi-final.
Mark, I'll say it again, when it's your day, because that cue ball, it was going straight in off into the top right pocket. Look at this, it's going straight in off, and it gets kissed away and stays on the table. And you can see the reaction from Marc Fleming. His head goes down, and he's just feels like he's almost resigning himself to the fact that, you know, it just feels like there's an air of inevitability about it. I'm not saying for 1 second that Craig Waddingham's got lucky here, because he hasn't. He's been playing absolutely brilliantly, but you know, sometimes when you see those things happen, you just think, oh my goodness. Not only is he playing well, he's getting the little flicks as well.
It seems like it's the stuff that happens when you are playing well.
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing as well is, because Craig's played so well in this match, he's really capitalised. Sometimes you get those nudges and they get forgotten because the player doesn't make much of it. It's the fact that he's going on and closing out frames so relentlessly is making it look worse than it might otherwise. I mean, 6-1 numerically is quite heavy, but I'm not sure that necessarily reflects. It's not like Marc hasn't played any part in this. Just Craig's had a lot more chances.
Just come back to the fact that you've got the cue ball that hung over the pocket. The cue ball then, if those two go in off, you know, what's the score then? You know, it's possibly 5-4. Who knows? You know, it's just a fickle old game. It really is a fickle game that we play.
Got one more shot to play here. Looked like this was going to be plain sailing, but finished just the wrong angle here, and slightly hampered by the red ball he's queuing over.
He's got so much cue power though. Beautiful.
Yeah, that was a good shot. It wasn't a completely natural line, that. Very good from Craig Waddingham.
So good to see this guy when he's flowing. Yeah, just one ball at a time at the moment. Comeback's got to start somewhere. And that's a decent break, but I don't think he's got a shot. I don't think he's got a shot. Oh, the yellow that he's closest to, he's got long, but you don't want that as an opener. No, he's just gonna. That's nice to see, actually, because a lot of players would have just taken the yellow on and just gone gung-ho and said, oh well, you know, I'm 7-1 down, let's have a go at everything. But it just shows that he still feels there's hope. He's not going to push the boat out. He's going to make Craig work for it.
Yeah, he's a proper pool player, isn't he, Marc Fleming? He's been around the game for a long time. He's played a lot of international pool as well, which I think helps to toughen you up, play with some teammates. Not playing to pot this, just playing this as a safety shot. Playing the right thing, of course, to grind his way back into this, although doesn't desperately want to get involved in a long frame, because time will become a factor given that Marc needs to win 6 or 7 more frames. I say 6 or 7 because if he could tie the scores at 7 apiece, we would go to a 6-red shootout if the clock had got down to 0. If either player gets to 8, that will be the result.
It's important there for Craig not to leave a touching ball. And a little tap on the table from Marc to recognise that, because It's hard for Marc to play any shot there and not leave something. And he's left this yellow long. And now Craig will be taking this on because he's playing it into a big pocket with the red down there. And this is, you feel his chance. He's going to take the harder one of the two. Rightly so too, because he can come across and develop his bad ball. Wow.
Well, it was the harder one of the two because of the position, but it was a hard shot. It was in a kind of a blind pocket played like that, and even though that red was there, it wasn't making it so big that it was unmissable.
He did develop that tough yellow as well, so in his saving grace is he's put the red across the yellow. It's just below the 8 ball, but it's a decent chance now for Marc Fleming. He's not had many. He's not made too many mistakes. He needs to take every chance that comes his way now.
Certainly couldn't begrudge him another frame or two. He's played his part in this match and very much so in the tournament. He must have played more frames of pool than anybody else. He's definitely played more than his opponent because he's played 2 extra matches en route to this final. To his credit, he doesn't look particularly jaded either by the amount of pool he's played or by the fact that he's behind. Still, from his body language, you wouldn't really be able to read too much into the overall situation.
So he's going to have to come across and play the short position, get right in behind this yellow. It's a very, very narrow window that he's playing into. Just about judging the pace. The line looks good, just slightly underpaced. He's going to have to cut it in and run into the 8 ball now. And he's going to be trusting to luck where that 8 ball goes. Hard to judge because the the 8 ball will probably go into the red above. Hard to judge how this is going to come out. Just needed 2 or 3 inches more pace here, and perfect. Oh, I think he deserved better than that, just to get this frame on the board, but it's just not happened for Marc Fleming. It really hasn't. Didn't deserve that.
Yeah, that's a tough run, isn't it? Good pot. Found the pot okay, but he's going to have to come with a big shot here because look at where these reds are sat. A bad place to... It can come off one cushion. He's going to give himself a chance of potting this ball.
Will this be the last shot that Marc Fleming plays in this event? Possibly not. That 8 ball, if that's gone across the potting angle of the red, then it may come back to the table. Craig's looking at it, eyeing it up, and then he can get through. Yeah, I think that could be curtains.
Marc went for control. You would have seen some people try and smash that and hope even if he didn't get the natural pocket that he fluked it off a few cushions. So will this be the victory lap for Craig Waddingham? Can't ask for a better chance than this to close out a match, especially under no real pressure. 6 frame cushion.
It's been a stunning performance, let's be honest. I mean, yeah, he's been great in the last few rounds. And he's just carried that form through to the final. Just eaten up every chance that's come his way. And he is going to be a deserved winner of Ultimate Pool 2024 Event 7. We saw him come short a couple of years ago. Not this time. Dominating performance, fist bump to his friends, and what a game, what a performance.
What a performance indeed from Craig Waddingham. 2 years on from that heartbreak where he lost 8-7 in the last seconds of the game to Shane Thompson. Craig Waddingham has found himself in the Pro Series final again. This time he gets the job done, 8-1 against Marc Fleming.
Bring out Neil Toms, the Ultimate Pool Tournament Director, to hand out the trophy to our champion, Craig Waddingham.